we've got FEMA that tells us what our costs are. We know. We know they're in the 100, 116, some years a little less, some years about that number. That's the cost. Why it becomes a broader conversation is if we say, you know, we're not cutting that at all out of the fire force, and I certainly am not supportive of that. As was noted, fully noted in the budget process, that means we are finding those dollars through cuts in the budget of $950,000, or we're raising taxes. That's what it means. Now, unless someone is sharing with me that the numbers from FEMA, that they don't know how to calculate their numbers, are wrong, and somebody tell me how we get some other numbers, I'm happy to hear it. But what I hate that we're all conflating is, yes, there are fire costs. Yes, they go up. Yes, there are, you know, yeah, you're right. We don't pay them, you know, just this time to this time. We pay them all the time, thankfully, because as we saw just the other day, when that phone call comes in, whether it's 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 p.m., they're there. We pay all the time. So to say our costs that Glen Ridge should pay are X beyond what FEMA calculates or Y beyond FEMA calculates, based on what? We would be paying every dime of what we pay for our fire budget now, unless you're saying a couple things. Unless you're saying we're reducing our fire department numbers, we're closing a firehouse, we're doing something that cuts their budget. If we are not saying that, if we're not, then we don't cut one dime from what their budget costs us now. And we know from FEMA how much it costs for the fuel, depreciation, other things when they go out of town for those periods of time. So I know, and I know our current chief can speak to it, yes, some members up here have talked about volunteer fire departments and infusing hybrid systems, and the chief, if he were asked, can speak to that. So I think it is a little disingenuous when some people say, I'm fully supportive. Yeah, they're also asking about going to a volunteer fire department or hybrid fire department, and the chief can be asked about it. So the challenge is, if you don't believe in that, I don't. I think Councilman Cummings said it, and we're hearing it now openly. Nobody does. The dollars are the dollars. I sit here as mayor saying I've got to be responsible for our full budget. He's absolutely right. And I don't support cutting the fire department one bit. I do think we need to add more people. But then where are we making those cuts? Who are we raising those taxes on? When, as was noted before, over the life of this, over the 10 years of this contract, we're bringing in $10 million more than it's costing us. That's real money that has to be made up. And by the way, I get it. I'm the same one going, well, you know, they got rid of their fire department. Ours costs us $17 million. They're not paying anything because they don't have one. Now they're only paying this. I get that. That just doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. I don't like it. You know, people look at, I get it. But we'd be having our exact same fire force right now if we didn't have a dime from them, or Glen Ridge never existed. This supports our fire budget, our whole budget, all of it. These are dollars that come in. And if we want to have a debate on what's fair, I'm open to it. But if we're going to make the claim that we think there's other costs, let me hear it. Because FEMA has come up with what those costs are. Our fire chief has confirmed what he knows those costs are. We've heard person after person. Anyone else can come up with some other way of how we want it, what we want to charge them. You might say $1 million, you might say $20 million, I might say 50, whatever we want to say, based on whatever way we want to calculate it. But our costs are our costs, and that's the key piece. Well, please come on up if you have a question, but and I won't be answering from the crowd, but I will say this. When you ask about the shared services czar, their job is to come and bring communities together to form a shared services agreement. And it sounds great. I love it. We right now are charged as elected officials with knowing our numbers, and unless you're disputing it, we know it costs us the $110,000 a year, picking a range in there, every year to provide fire services. Their job is to come in and say, we need a shared agreement here. They come in and they say, Montclair, let me see your books, let me see your numbers. It's 115, 110, 107 one year. What's a fair number to have a shared services agreement? 200,000? You getting more than it's costing you? 300,000? 400,000? 500,000 over? 600,000 over? I'm not asking them because we know our number. It's a conversation as a community to say, do we want to charge 700,000 more than it's asking us, 900,000 more than it's asking us? So, man, please. So, those are the things why I have the position I have. And I would ask, if somebody thinks they know a number, or there's any way they're calculating that our costs are different than have been explained to us, I'm happy to hear it. But as Councilman Cummings noted, the majority of us moved forward with a deal that starts $750,000 more than it is costing us, is because, and I want to be clear on this too, I don't think, and I saw the quote that says he thinks we're ripping them off. I appreciate that. Maybe he would have accepted a lower bid that we offer them, but I don't consider us ripping off Glen Ridge. This is a win-win. Glen Ridge gets a professional fire service from us. They get a dedicated crew that no one can do it better. They get our apparatus, which because of the configurations for Montclair, serve their township well. They get locations of our fire department that were constructed years before any of us, but that are perfectly suited to serve a Montclair and a Glen Ridge. This is a win for them too. And there was a charge for that. And we came together and said that charge is $750,000 going up to the $850,000 profit margin, going up to the $1.7 million, right, after the 15 years. We can have the discussion and debate, right, around you think that should be higher, you think that should be less, but I know the backdrop of that is we might have gotten no deal. Bloomfield did bid on that last time. Bloomfield did undercut. And I'm sorry, but I don't judge previous councils as harshly as maybe my colleague here does. They're faced with a similar conversation years back going, this is how much it's costing us. Should we get $500,000 more than it costs? And they made that decision. But we're making this decision now, and that was what our conversations were, and that was the bid that was put forward by the majority here, as the Councilman Cummings noted. Right? So I think it's important, and thank you that you're all here. These are the opinions and conversations that can be had. But honestly, in a bid process, they're not the ones that can be had before the bid, right? The reason we're sitting here now is none of this can be discussed like this before we submit our bid. I think you'd all agree and note, you can't have everybody else knowing what you're going to bid or what you're thinking. It would undermine our best interests as a community. So yes, let's talk about what we're talking about when we say where we think we could save dollars or where we want to cut those dollars if we don't get this deal. But the bottom line is the majority here moved forward with a deal because we thought this was something that was a win-win for both communities. Thank you.